Welcome back to another episode of Traversing the Strange World. All right, my fellow strangers, this is something new I'm going to be doing on Mondays. A little kind of shot of mindfulness for the week. I don't really like the word motivation because at the end of the day, what matters way more than motivation is having focus and having a plan. All right, let's go. Monday mornings with peace. You didn't choose this body. You didn't choose this brain. You didn't choose the habits, the anxieties, the beliefs, or the expectations that were already forming before you were old enough to question any of it. One day, you just woke up here. Inside a system, inside a mind, inside a strange world that keeps demanding things from you without ever explaining itself. And most of us spend our entire lives reacting to that fact instead of understanding it. This isn't hype motivation. This is orientation. There's an old Gnostic idea about a demiurge, this false god that has mankind trapped here on Earth. Creating the entire world is an illusion. And in order to break free from this illusion, you must receive gnosis. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in the demiurge, but within that framework of this false god ruling this false reality that keeps us trapped, let's apply it to some other things, like the ego. Part of you that mistakes urgency for truth. The part of you that thinks inherited rules are universal laws. The part of you that never questions the framework it woke up inside. Before you had language, before you had choice, patterns were already being carved into you. You inherited emotional habits from your parents. Their fears, their coping mechanisms, their silence, their anger, their expectations for what life is supposed to look like. Not because they were evil, but because they were conditioned to. They were given answers that are actually snowballs, a long evolution of an idea that history threw at us. Some of us learn that love is conditional. Some of us learn that peace comes from staying quiet. Some of us learn that success equals worth. Some of us learn that safety means control. Those patterns set like stone before we even knew we were being shaped. And then the ego shows up later and says, "This is who you are." That's the trap, my fellow strangers. We experience life through a brain we were never taught how to use. Anxiety, OCD loops, neurodivergency, trauma responses. Instead of being given understanding, we're given shame. Ego, the inner demiurge, takes all of it and builds an identity. You're broken. You're behind. You should be different by now. That isn't truth. That's a system trying to keep itself intact. The Stoics were ruthless about one thing. Suffering comes from confusing what's within your control with what isn't. You didn't choose your parents or their wounds. You didn't choose your early conditioning. You didn't choose the thoughts that arise automatically. But you can choose to understand them. And understanding is power. That's that gnosis that we were talking about earlier. The demiurge escaping from that false reality. In order to escape these bad patterns, these bad habits that keep us trapped, we got to go to the root of where they started to begin with. And then, once we trace them back to their beginning, I think that's where we find clarity. The moment you see a pattern as a pattern, it stops owning you. Most people are trying to fix themselves, and a huge part of that is understanding yourself. When you understand the system, it loses its authority. When you understand the ego, when you understand inherited generational curses, when you understand your mind, it stops pretending to be reality. True knowledge, true self-knowledge is subtle, real, sublime. This week, in your process of conquering, just notice. Notice inherited reaction. Notice old scripts playing automatically. Awareness is the first crack in the system. This is orientation. You woke up here, and you're allowed to learn how this place works. All right, my fellow strangers, some things to ponder and reflect on throughout the week. What is the earliest memory where you felt you had to manage yourself emotionally? When did you learn that certain feelings weren't welcome? And what did that teach you on how to traverse the world socially? What part of you did you learn to hide first? What emotion did you become especially good at suppressing? What memory made you feel older than you actually were? Who did you feel safest telling the truth to as a child? Ask yourself, is this a pattern or is this actually happening right now? When anxiety spikes, when irritation shows up, when urgency takes over, gently ask yourself this. Often when responding to memory, habit, or anticipation, not present moment. Ask yourself what part of this is within my control and what part am I pretending is. A stoic anchor. Notice when your energy is being wasted on outcomes, people, or timelines you can't command. They're out of your control. All right, my fellow strangers, I hope you enjoyed this first segment of Monday Mornings with Peace, and I hope that it gave you just what you needed for your Monday and to approach the week with focus. Until next time, let's keep traversing this strange world. Let's always be curious. Let's always be inquisitive. We just kind of walked into this life thing, so let's remember to be neighborly to folks. Because at the end of the day, we're all just strangers in a strange land. Until next time, peace. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Monday mornings with peace.